Q&A section of the day. This is really, really exciting for me because I get to wear a Madonna mic, so that is awesome. But yeah, I know, check it out. But I've got a mic for you guys as well, so can you just make sure...
Yeah. Yep, working.
Fantastic, fantastic. All right, so we've had a whole bunch of questions come through Twitter and through the email. There are microphones on either side of the stage as well, so we might grab a couple of extra questions if we get some time. But I thought, first of all, we'll just go through some of the questions that we have already. And one of the first ones, sorry, show of hands, who has been to WWDC on the stage? Only two of you. Okay, so I guess it's good that the mic's down this end. One of the first questions was, do you recommend attending WWDC? Is it worth the airfare and the 2 weeks in San Fran?
Yeah, I think it is. It's definitely worth it. Even just to sort of go along and get into the vibe of sort of the Apple community. I think there's a lot of potential to sort of meet a lot of the people you might see who have developed apps and might have seen it there online. Maybe I'll let you.
Yeah, as a designer going to WWDC, obviously there's limited appeal in the sessions. So I'd say don't go to learn, definitely go to network, to meet people for whatever else is going on there. There's just a whole heap of stuff happening, obviously, in the city, and it's a really high concentration of people that you probably want to meet. So definitely go for that. If you're just going to go there to actually attend the sessions and try and learn, they're all the videos show up online later anyway, and you can always Google a question, which is probably more fitting if you're actually having a problem in a certain area at that time. So definitely worth it, definitely expensive, definitely good for networking and not so good for learning just because there's such a sheer volume of information.
Fair enough, fair enough. I'll stick with you, Mark, just for the time being. There is a question here for Mark. Can you please further explain the different requirements you spoke of regarding working for hire and creating your own product? What are some of the key differences when you're, I guess, a gun for hire role?
One, you have a boss with a client that you have to do what they say, otherwise they don't pay you. And the other, you don't. I'm not sure I'm probably the best person for this because we only have products. We kind of don't really do work for hire very well, and we've decided not to do it anyway after not really ever trying it. I mean, I guess I should add to this that my previous life was only doing work for hire because I worked in ad agencies doing design, print design, radio, TV, whatever. So it was, it was always working for a client, which can be good, but also occasionally you see great ideas suffer. So I kind of, given that we don't desperately have to, it's probably preferable for us anyway to not do any work for clients.
Okay, and when I say your name, please raise your hand so the microphone gets down to you. This next question is for Tom. Okay. JCAU wanted to know, can you please explain how and why development has gotten more expensive recently? You mentioned that in your slide.
I suppose I should probably clarify that. Development, all you really need is $100 to pay your development fee and, a Mac and an iPhone. That's all you kind of need to make an app. So in that sense, the development costs have stayed pretty stable. What I'm really referring to there is when you look at the top 10 games, the cost of developing those top 10 games is what's rising. Like, they've got much higher production values and a lot more ongoing support is involved in making those apps. So it's more... The cost of making any app is sort of the same and still kind of cheap, but the cost of making a really great app is what's increasing, and especially in games. And with the iPhone 5 and the tech ability that the iPhone 5 is going to have, that's also going to keep on pushing that bar up to a point where, it's not really an indie space anymore. It's going to be more a space where the big publishers who have big budgets start dominating that field, which is not to say that indies are out of that game altogether. It's just that it's changing. The market there is changing in that regard.
Okay, this is a more general question. Do you guys recommend any of the books out there for learning iOS or any of the online video tutorials? Is there one place that have you guys gotten any kind of really great feedback from?
Well, I suppose you can't really go past the Apple developer stuff. Like, that's just so valuable. Yeah.
Are you allowed to talk about that on stage, or?
I don't know. No one's game.
That big Nerd Ranch iPhone programming book, as much as they're a sponsor and stuff, apparently it's really good. It wasn't around when I was first learning, but I know at least 6 different people that have kind of gone through the book. My wife's actually one of them, and yeah, she said it was really good.
Okay, cool.
And my wife is never wrong, so there you go.
Mark has just said iOS recipes. Is that a book or a website or? Sorry about this.
It's a book that's been written, at least in part, by a guy called Matt Drance, who's ex-Apple, who was one of the evangelists and worked on a lot of iPhone-type stuff, and some other guys. I believe it's a digital book, and I don't know because I'm not a programmer. Yeah, Pragmatic Programmers, is that the... Yeah, that's real. I mean, Matt Drance is an absolute gun, and so I imagine... I've heard lots of good things about it, so I imagine it's good. And also Design Then Code by Mike Rundle might be worthwhile for someone who's kind of straddles the design programmer thing.
This is a question just from myself. When there were a couple of little moments throughout the day where you guys kind of laughed at signing NDAs. And I know one of my favourite tweets from Mr. Mark Edwards was, you can actually tell how bad a project is by how insistent they are on signing an NDA. Is that... I don't know, how would you... If you were approached tomorrow to sign an NDA by a company, what would you do if you were one of the guys in the audience here?
I guess if you're engaging with large companies, it's kind of a requisite and it's a box you have to tick. So if you're going to engage to build an app for a business, it's just sort of a prerequisite. And in most cases, we don't have a problem with it. You know, we read it. They're all about the same. It just depends on your appetite for the risk that comes with an NDA. And I think we've all said it, most ideas aren't really unique anymore, so we're not too concerned of it. I get a little bit frustrated when I get sort of 1 and 2 guys coming in saying, hey, we've got an idea and we've got an NDA, we'd love you to sign. And I'm like, well, I generally don't bother with that. Anyone else? Daniel?
Yeah, actually, we sign NDAs with all our projects, but I'm actually reconsidering it after hearing these guys. They're pretty, no, seriously, you're pretty convincing. I actually thought, yeah, maybe not. But we actually find usually when someone comes in with an NDA that they're more professional. But what we do is we don't actually sign their NDA. We have a mutual NDA just to make sure that it's not all one-sided. We actually have a mutual NDA that says any conversation that we have means that our ideas are our own and yours are your own. But yeah, I might talk to you a bit more about that afterwards because I'm reconsidering.
I think we get it quite often, and I think, you know, when someone comes to us with an idea, you've got to respect that idea as well. And as long as it's not too full on, you know, if someone's going to come and pour their soul out to you, I think there needs to be a bit of respect there. But generally, half the time, yeah, the ideas are pretty, not awful, but they haven't really been thought of. But yeah, it's one of those things that just comes with the territory.
Fair enough. Actually, Jason, hold on to the microphone because this one's for you, mate. An actual question was, how did you train your wife to put up with you?
So the compelling argument was that in doing all of this, I managed to spend a lot of time with my daughter and a lot of time with my wife as well. So, I mean, look, it's a tough sell, and there's no doubt about it. She puts up with way too much. But... yeah, look, ultimately, a lot of it was about, just me wanting to, bring some fun and adventure into our household and not just be another boring family. And I didn't really like the idea that when I had a daughter, I'm not going to see her because I'm at the office all day. And, these are the kind of sacrifices that I made, and she understood that. And, she saw me working ridiculous amount of hours, and I think that really helped to sell it as well. If I was just watching, television all the time, I don't think it would have been the same.
I think not. Okay, this one's for James. How big a part of success do you think your kind of creative and marketing experience was bringing that to the apps that you've made?
I think brand is by nature really important. If you look at what Apple do with their products, they're always really well branded and really well delivered to market. a lot of people say, that Apple products, they just succeeded because their marketing was really good. But I don't think so. I think they had a really great product that they were able to talk about really well. And branding is really just about talking about your product in a really refined manner. But I've seen a lot of apps on the store that don't really have really great brands, and yet they succeed. So in the iOS department, I'm not really sure how much of a contributing factor it was. I'd like to think it was a good contributor, but I think the product itself is probably more important in iOS.
Okay. And this question I don't want a designer to answer, but I want to know how important was a well-designed icon in the App Store, do you think?
I think, in theory, it's very important because it's the first thing people see. But then again, the first icon we had for Pocket Weather was pretty rubbish, so still sold anyway. I don't know. What do you guys think?
Sort of both branding and design. When we went from 2010 to 2011 with our icon, we made a seismic shift, and I was emotionally connected to the old one. The reason we changed to the new one is we had a suite of sports apps that we wanted to consistently have in the App Store. And in hindsight, it was the right decision. I think people resonate with that football icon and the rugby icon. So I do think, it's extremely important. And from a branding perspective, if you are going to create a suite of apps based on that, it's important to consider.
Okay. And this question was asked about 10 different times in 10 different ways, but basically it boils down to how do I promote my app when it's very deep into the App Store and I don't have that much money?
What's that? If you have the answer, I want to know.
We started off and we had almost no money. Like when we launched the original Train Conductor, we actually ran out of money. Like we had nothing left in the bank. And we were actually also kicked out of our office on that day as well. So it was kind of a bit hectic. So in terms of doing marketing, when you have literally no monetary resources, we did a pretty good job there. And that's a lot really comes down to engaging with the community forums. Because if you get that base behind you on the major forums like Touch Arcade and those sorts of places, then that gives you some initial spike and some buzz. We did so much legwork contacting journalists and contacting blogs, promo codes, giving out promo codes everywhere, and just contacting everyone. And also making a video. If you've got the skills to do that, a video to market your app is really important. So yeah, there's a lot you can do if you can invest your time, because one of the resources you have always is time. And so you can invest your skills that you use to make the app into making assets that market that app. So.
Yeah, I think Tom had a good point. You've got to sort of being on the other side. I get approached by, I get press releases about apps all the time. I think you've got to have a good story with the app. So something that I think writers are inherently, they like other people to do their jobs for them. So if you can give them a story that they can publish, it makes it easier for them. But I think what Tom said, you get on the phone, you find a name of a journo that you think you could pitch your story to and call them and ask them if they've got time to have a coffee with you. Go through all the papers, all the magazines, all the blogs, and be a real person, not just spam stuff out. And I think that's really important.
Actually, one of you guys had a slide that said SEO is evil, and I completely agree, but I did want to ask, of course it was Russell, of course. But yeah, so I just wanted to know, how much do you think, I know as a shopper that most of the stuff I find through Google and then link to the iTunes store. I don't tend to find stuff in the store that much. The search is pretty wonky at best. What do you guys think? Where would you put your effort? Would it be the iTunes searching or the Google search? What do you think is more important overall?
I mean, I said it in my presentation. Our philosophy really was the App Store, and that was just through some of the research that we found on the web. I think it's important to be found in both, but we definitely focused our efforts on trying to be as discoverable as possible in every single one of those tabs in the App Store. So, getting featured by Apple, so you're in the featured or what's hot, making sure you're high up in your categories. Obviously, that's in some way related. And then also in the ratings, and then thinking about that search bar. And whenever we've kind of achieved that level of visibility, that's when we've had consistent high-level sales. But in saying that, we made sure we had a website, we made sure we have a Twitter presence, a Facebook presence, so that when people search for TV Guide, they're actually going to be able to find our app.
we turn it around? Like for the people in the audience. So if you're searching for an application, you don't know whether it exists or not, who here would search for it in Google first? Put them up a bit high. And then who would search for it in the App Store first? Well, there you go. So Google is, maybe a little bit important, but it looks like the App Store is, or at least these people get theirs from.
I stand corrected.
You're just weird, Peter.
Hey, I have to go through like 20 apps a week for the Mac Talk show, so, you know. Alrighty. This one is actually for Danny. A question from the audience was, I bought both editions of Shop Ethical and was happy to pay for the updated content, but I recall seeing a lot of negative reviews and backlash as a result of releasing a new version of the app rather than a free update for existing app owners.
This is a good question.
Indeed.
This is a good question. And it's something we debate a lot. I mean, we're doing a lot of work with publishers, and we've just had an issue now. We've just released the second version of the James Halliday Wine Companion, which has got its own problems, but that's not for today. And so the question is, how do you get someone to pay for content more than once? I mean, if they publish books every year, and every year someone goes out and buys the Good Food Guide or the new James Halliday Wine Companion or the Ethical Shopping Guide. And we think that model should be maintained in the App Store. There are two ways you can do it. You can either release a brand new app, brand it with the relevant year, hopefully update the features, update the UI and the look and feel, and make it an attractive offer. Or you can do in-app, I guess, upgrade or subscription. We're kind of steering away from that at the moment, given all the recent legal issues surrounding that. But it's hard, and I don't think there's a good model. I think it'd be nice if there was some sort of upgrade, if Apple supported upgrades more thoroughly. I guess they don't really support them at all, but it's just up to you. I think the way we did it though has proven really successful. We've got I think it's nearly a 5-star rating for Shop Ethical 2012, and then we killed the old app anyway, which was getting all the bad ratings. So don't know.
Thanks, man. I think on that, it's just a communication thing as well. I was talking about 2009 to 2010 paid versus a sponsored model, and what I think pissed people off the most was that we didn't tell them. So if you can communicate that it is a yearly fee, then I think people will kind of understand. You don't have to explain the logistics of it all, but just put it out there, and I think that would make a big difference in users' I guess ratings towards you.
We branded now in 2012, so it's pretty obvious.
Yeah.
Okay, and show of hands, who's received an email from Steve Jobs? Okay, Russell, go first.
Was there a question? Or?
Who was the shortest? It was the question, but I imagine you could both. Was it just get bent, Steve, or what was the actual?
The answer is mine was one longer than his. Is that? No. I can't actually remember. It was about this long in Gmail at about 14-point font. What did it say, Phil? It said something like, was there a sorry in there? Or is it just we are no longer accepting desktop clients, Steve?
And mine's a bit better than that. No, we just got one to say, like the app, have you thought about, what was it, Alan? Have you thought about the Game Centre that's coming soon? That'll be really cool. And then I stupidly thought, I've got this email. And we sat there and we went, I'm going to reply to him because he's going to reply to me again. And I'm like, hey, Steve, how you going? Tried to start this conversation. He never emailed back.
Okay, and for someone who doesn't know how to code at all, but is looking to hire one of you talented boys, what is the process? First of all, what is the first thing we can say to make you guys never answer our emails, Steve style, or what can we do to ingratiate ourselves to you? Any guns for hire?
Yeah, somebody that knows how to code would be good.
I think Danny would agree, but we answer this. I think if you come to, I don't know, a gun for hire, if anything, if there's a plan and there's a structure to your concept and your idea and you can articulate it in words and in form, then, of course someone's going to want to look into it and want to develop it. And if you can inspire and the idea is good. But I guess what's happening, a lot of people have ideas in the shower, or your auntie's best mate's got an idea and they call you up. And I think that's the that's what kind of annoys people, because you've only got X amount of hours during a day, so you get frustrated. But yeah, if it's well presented and as I said, articulated well, then that's what we like.
Yeah, I think nothing frustrates me more. We've got an info page on our website. Nothing frustrates me more than just like a first name, an email, and how much will an app cost. You can't do anything with that. So we've got a standard. We fire back a sort of standard response, which asks them a few questions. Some of the things that I went through today. Have you looked for other apps? Have you got a budget? All that sort of stuff. And you can kind of, I guess you can sound people out. You can get a feel for how serious they are when you start talking dollars. That sort of can scare off quite a few people. So, but I think what I look for is a well-developed idea, kind of an appreciation that this stuff isn't easy, an appreciation of what makes a good app. And I think then you start the dialogue and you kind of develop it. And unfortunately there's not enough time in the day to kind of deal with all those people. There might be some people with brilliant ideas, but the ones that we talk to are the ones that kind of come with reasonably developed ideas.
Matt, a question for you. How did you come up with all the falling objects?
Well, I didn't actually draw them, but I requested many of them. Come up with, just as in what they were going to be. Mm-hmm. They're basically references to my favourite things and Nevin's favourite things. So there's a DeLorean. There's many items from Lost, so like the hatch counter. There's a flux capacitor. There's the Mystery Science Theatre 3000, like a film billboard, I think it is. I don't know. It's basically that. It's just wake up one morning and fire off an email to Nevin, can you draw these? And meanwhile, he's padding it out with things that he wants and so on. And that's it. And we actually had some guest artists. We thought that'd be pretty cool to, people who are sort of internet famous to put things in there. So yeah, so that's really all it is, just whatever the heck we could think of. And we also tried to have a range of small and large and so on. But yeah.
Okay. And if anyone wants to go to one of the microphones, I don't know, it'll be very hard for me to see out there, but please someone wave or something to let me know. Do you guys monitor the app reviews on all the app stores, or just the English-speaking ones that you can get to, or how does that work?
AppViz. Yeah.
Okay.
So back in the day, you would copy-paste your daily reports into an Excel sheet or whatever the heck anyone was using, and we'd all try and come up with what our sales were going to be in dollars, because we knew what the units were. But then this Idea Swarm, I think, they made this app called AppViz, and it will take not only what it's generally intended to do, which is take all the daily sales and turn it into a dollar value by doing all the currency conversions. It'll also record all of your rankings, which I don't tend to use it for, and collate all of your reviews. But I don't really look at them. So, yeah, I mean, generally, if you're getting... I don't know if this is always true, but generally if you're getting poorly reviewed, you've got a bug somewhere. And if you've got a bug somewhere, you've got emails that correspond to those bad reviews. So you'll find it there first. But yeah, and I guess just while I'm on the topic, I use Magic Rank as well to track rankings worldwide.
Okay.
So yeah.
And actually on that, I know some people swear by TestFlight app. Are there other apps out there that you can you would recommend, or other kind of frameworks and stuff that you would recommend building on rather than trying to reinvent? I know once someone said, don't try to reinvent the wheel when you come to these things. I'll start with you. Sorry, James. Why don't we start? Let's go all the way around. Sorry, that was the most awkward thing of all time. Hi, I'll be here all night.
Yeah, I mean, we use TestFlight, so I don't know how valuable my input's going to be as far as other alternatives. TestFlight's been a boon for us, and I'm sure many of the guys here are going to be in the same boat, but I'll awkwardly hand on to Tom.
We've got a bunch, because when we first started out, we made a really bad mistake of developing our own tech, which in games is really dumb, because we just basically made another game engine, because that's never been done before. And so we're using Unity, which is just dramatically smarter. And so as a tool for game devs, like Unity, using tools that are cross-platform, but more on topic, like we sort of use Flurry for analytics a lot. We use App Annie for tracking ranks. There's like a plethora of tools that you can use out there. But Flurry stands out because they've got a really good blog for putting out lots of really good market insights. Like most of my slides came from Flurry, basically. So I'm just ripping them off. Like,
I don't have any new ones. So I just use MagicRank and AppViz pretty much. And I guess whenever we develop an app, if we see something there's like, XML parsing or JSON parsing or whatever, you want to connect to Facebook or Twitter or something, we generally search sort of the internet to see what's out there. And if it's good enough, we'll just use it. And if it's not good enough, we'll do it ourselves.
Yeah, I agree. AppViz and Flurry, and I love their blogs. So that's all I can. And TestFlight sort of blew me away when I first used it, when I actually understood it. So I'm not really technical, but I could see it used and people connecting to it. So they're the three ones that I'm thinking of.
Oh, I only use TestFlight, and that's it. No analytics for me.
They've all been said, yeah. Flurry for analytics, understanding what people are doing is really important. And TestFlight still is magic to me. I don't understand how it works. But it allowed us to do public beta testing with the iPad release. We wouldn't have been able to do that, or it would have been very difficult to do that. And, those would be the key for me.
Just TestFlight. I'm really boring, sorry.
I was going to say, as far as helping develop code, there's this guy, and I'm going to say his name wrong, but it's Matt Gemmell, I think, or Gemmell. And he puts out a lot of really cool general purpose sort of things, like a library for tweeting. I use his split view controller for the iPad because the built-in one is kind of janky. He's got a really good collection of reusable source code that you can just use for free as long as you put it in the about box. And of course, TestFlight, MagicRank, and AppViz, as I said. So
TestFlight, AppViz. There's also another one, AppsFigures, which I use sometimes. App Annie. I get 5 apps free or something. But whatever. It lets you export reports differently. AppViz doesn't let you export reports very nicely.
I don't have much to add to this, except we use AppViz and we occasionally look at reviews as well. But that's more to when you're trawling for bugs to fix or features to add or whatever. But like Matt said, you get emails anyway, so you really, unless you're a bit of a masochist, you don't read your app reviews that often.
What?
So, or maybe if you're feeling really good and you just want to feel down, just check out your reviews. The only other thing I would add, if you're developing Mac apps, so you're not developing iOS apps, and you don't want to be on the Mac App Store and you want to actually have decent analytics, I highly recommend FastSpring, which is what we use for iStat menus, and it is really good to actually have current sales figures up to the hour. So,
I think I'm actually really bad to talk to when talking about reinventing the wheel, because we've actually got our own, say, games engine and analytics sort of package. So we took the route of actually building our own analytics server so we can track everything that's happening with our app and also be able to deliver a bunch of extra features that we sort of felt we need, which is being able to sort of respond to issues in the app sort of immediately and push messages to the user and sort of any other sort of custom features we think we might need. But we also use TestFlight. That's really useful. Another sort of thing we've been using lately is we've got a lot of iOS apps and we've been looking at moving to the Mac. And we've found a project called Chameleon really useful to at least start sort of prototyping and getting your app running on the Mac, because it sort of implements all of UIKit on the Mac. So you can share a lot of the code base there and then start moving the bits that need to be moved over as you sort of further the development, which is particularly good for games if it shares a lot of the sort of UIKit features. So that's a lot.
Okay. And I've just got to ask myself, okay, so I'm sure you've all read a review on the iTunes Store that has just blown your mind. Who do you think has the most evil thing written by a 12-year-old for no reason about their app? Who's got the best horror story? Yep, okay. Oh.
During that time when we had the troll appear on our store, one of the best ones we had was, do not buy this app. It is only as good as Microsoft Paint.
Nice.
1 star.
Nice. Yeah, they're so nice on the App Store.
I'm not going to tell the review because it's quite rude, but we found that people who follow rugby league are a lot more gross or forward with their reviews as opposed to people that follow Australian rules football. So if you want to know, you can go look through our reviews and you can actually see exactly what I'm talking about, but I don't think I should mention it here.
I'll mention it. I've been called cockhead, douchebag. Usually they come through emails, but that's okay. It's just a part of it, isn't it? I just kind of laugh it off. It's kind of funny in a way.
We've had some bad ones. I think the ones that irritate more are almost these people that think that by giving you a low rating or 1 star, it's somehow going to motivate you to add features or do more work, and they're directly kind of impacting your sales as well. That's the most infuriating kind of thing beyond any kind of bad names. It's just this idea that we're going to chase the carrot on the stick. But I remember one email in particular, because I really can't remember all the different reviews, but we got called effing snoozers, which for some reason just made us laugh more than... It was supposed to be an insult, I'm sure, but I'd never heard the term snoozer before, but I just like it. So,
you burnt my steak. That was pretty much... we got a lot of those ones. It was just, and they were kind of
on
funny,
Upsies
right?
or
no, yeah. What? No, we got a lot of those ones for Ask the Butcher. Just random people having a go, and a lot of the time it's funny. The ones I'm pretty bad. I stopped reading them because I get quite emotional for other people. So like with Stricken, there was like some dude who was going, the artwork's really shoddy. I mean, the guy spent 3 years illustrating this thing, like sketching it, and they're the ones where you get these people, you almost want to have a conversation with them and say, well, when did you illustrate a graphic novel? Let's look at yours and pick it apart. So yeah, I get a little bit emotional about that stuff, so I've stopped looking at them. But yeah, it's the short, sharp ones are kind of funny. I like them. They're good.
Yeah, no, I honestly can't remember any. I know, not to say we don't get bad ones, we certainly get bad ones, but I just don't read them anymore. Although... alternatively, there's the 4-star review that says how much they like it and how they'll give you that extra star if only you do something that takes months. So yeah, why not? I'll just do that for a star. But I don't know. I don't think people realise how insulting that is. So yeah. Anyway.
I don't remember.
I do like the ransom comments. The one, the 4-star. They're great. We copped a lot of flack with iStat for iPhone when Apple told us we had to remove a feature, and then everyone blamed us, and we told them it was Apple, and then they still blamed us. And we've also had people, just in terms of funny support emails, we've had several times people request serial numbers for widgets they downloaded for free that have no copy protection on them at all. It's like, well, you can just download it again. You don't really need to do anything.
Yeah, we try really not to read our reviews. If we've got a problem, I think we've got so many ways people can contact us for support. We've got the email, Twitter, Facebook, all that sort of stuff. So we find, I think, the people that really genuinely, have an issue or need help, they'll contact us on the email. We've got a full-time, support guy that will respond to them really quickly. So we just sort of mostly ignore the reviews unless they're going really badly, and then we know something really is wrong. But until they're a bit annoying, really, the reviews.
Well, then, what would you recommend for me then? Say, as this douchebag, I know poor Russell has gotten about 10 emails from me going, I tell you what, Pocket Cast would be awesome if it did this. Like, how do you, I don't know, how can I write my emails so that I'm not as annoying as the idiots I tend to read on iTunes?
Yeah, well, for me, I think if you've gone to the trouble of at least writing an email, that shows that you've spent a whole lot more effort than just sort of giving you a couple of stars on on iTunes. So we will I guess pay attention to all the emails, whether we do anything about them or not. It's probably another question, but yeah.
Fair enough.
Anyone else?
Return my emails, Russell.
I actually, sorry about that. You probably know more we're going to get through because you're actually on our spam list now. I reckon the biggest thing is a lot of people that write to you, they don't know the history of your app, and everyone seems to think they know everything about everything. So if you write me an email that says, look, your app is busted, and here's the exact reason why, and here's exactly what you have to do, and this is what you will do, and then if you do that, then I'll do this. And it's like, come on, if you just write me like a really nice email, say, look, I don't like this, can you fix this? Here's a suggestion. That's cool. But if you kind of write us a really sort of strong-worded email that, we're all idiots and, you know best, then we're probably going to think we are idiots and just delete your email.
Fair enough then. And yeah, go for it.
Yeah, I just want to kind of reiterate that just if you're going to send the email, just don't make the assumption that we don't know what we're doing. We've probably all spent quite a lot of time and effort doing something. Like, I think we're all open to feedback and suggestions, but don't assume that, we just haven't thought of things or we're just too lazy to do something.
And what about that, the Marco Arment kind of idea that $5 price point shuts out a lot of the people who might just whinge about your app? I don't know, do you know? You're shaking your head over there?
Yeah, I mean, we don't get a lot of people whinging, but we certainly, at the $4.99 price point, still get a lot of people saying, it'd be great if this app could walk my dog as well, And it's like, yeah, okay, cool. But we've also got sorted at 99 cents, and we kind of see very similar things going on. So I'm not sure, I can't speak for the entire developer community out there, but I haven't noticed anything else. People think that, that they use the app and it's something very personal to them and they want to give something back. And we sort of see the same sort of thing going across. And probably with Procreate, even being $4.99, it's probably got more people talking back and asking for stuff they want. Yeah.
Okay. And there was a question here, thoughts on in-app purchases. I don't know, does anyone do the freemium model up here? I know, yeah.
Was there a question? Sorry, what was the question?
So sorry. I guess first of all, probably there was another question about are you worried about the whole Lodsys thing? And
I'm worried about it if they take out a patent on public speaking as well. That's what I'm worried about. It's kind of, I think every developer's worried about it, and it's not just whether or not you have an in-app purchase now either. I think it's if you link to any of your other applications. Is that right? I think if you link to any of your other applications now, you'll still kind of fall under their target. So I try not to dwell on it. I just try to focus on making my products better, and whatever happens. It's out of my control.
Just got a quick question when you're ready.
Yep.
Oh, yep. You're taking them from the floor now?
Indeed, go for it.
Butting in? Okay. Hi, my name's Richard Tubb. I'm at WatchU if you follow me on Twitter. My question is basically a general one to all the speakers here today, which has been fantastic, just about team formation. The reason being is obviously part of your success is probably because you've formed a great team around you. And that's really, really great if you work with a fantastic guy who's a good designer and you've got someone else who's a great programmer, or you're a great programmer yourself. But looking from the point of view of if, obviously I need better friends, but if you don't have those at your disposal, what are you basically how have you gone about assembling a really, really great team? The reason being is that ultimately I think that all of the successes that you've talked about is actually because you've been a part of that team. It hasn't been outsourced to a third party. So ultimately, even though some of you actually do outsourcing work, normally that's a project that comes up and there's probably an end to that project. But if you're looking at something that's a lot bigger than that and potentially you could be working on it for another 5 years, then it probably doesn't make sense to actually outsource that to, basically one of you guys, because you need to have the passion and the team there to build it. I was just wondering if you had any feedback about, would you put an ad up on, through social media or newspaper, or basically going about acquiring really good talent?
We've worked on lots of projects and we've got a reasonable sized team. We work with clients who their product is the app. One example is Everguide, which is an app that we developed for Everguide, or Life Lounge, which is a sort of a gig guide that works around Australia. And we're their development team, and we're passionate about the apps that we develop, even though we're developing them for third parties and clients, and it's client work. We are passionate about them. We tend to take on projects that we're passionate about, and I think we're all in a fortunate area at the moment where there's probably too much work for us to handle. So I don't think there's a problem outsourcing the app development to the third party, that's just, one part of it. And if it gets to a successful point, well, then maybe the business can afford to bring that in-house. But it's a lot cheaper to, I think, from a business perspective, to have that as an outsourced service. And, you can put maintenance and support and upgrade agreements in place which kind of mitigate your risk a little bit.
Yeah, I tend to think a team is incredibly important to what you're doing, because I think, as one of the guys said, you can't do it all yourself. And the team is just absolutely important. And not only, I'm a big believer of in-house product. And not to say that model doesn't work just for us personally. In-house is incredibly cost-effective because, you've got lots of time. So you can produce really good stuff. And just the people themselves, to try and find talent, it's hard. And I wouldn't put out ads or anything like that because, ultimately you have to work and share a lot of your life with these people. And I'm very fortunate because my team, they're fucking awesome. And, these guys were doing other things before they came into Savage, and I think it's just one of the most crucial things to do as a developer is find the right people.
And that was just through your own social network at the time? Was that sort of really how it came about?
Sort of. I sold a car, and this guy said to me, "Oh, you do web stuff, do you?" And I said, "Yeah." And he goes, "Oh, my brother's a web developer." And I went, cool.
So it'd be nice to take the chance component out of that.
Yeah, well...
I've only got one car to sell, so, if I sell it to the wrong guy, then I'm stuffed.
Yeah, try selling more cars. Yeah. I've just gone about things just by a local network, really just listening out to people. I'm not a big fan of just plastering stuff out. It's really just learning about someone. Yeah.
Thank you. Go.
I might add to that because we just hired a new designer with our team, 6 months ago. But yeah, basically we entered a games competition where we had to make a game in 48 hours and his team beat us. So that's why we decided to get him. So,
okay, thanks.
I think the other thing you got to remember is that, I've seen hundreds and hundreds of developers, and probably only 1 in 100 is actually any good. Like all these guys that work in sort of enterprise shops and stuff, you can really coast quite easily and be part of a successful team without having to do much at all, really. And I've worked with guys in the past who can't even code. Like, you ask them, can you do this? And they're like, oh, yeah, I'll do this. And they go for 2 weeks, and I'm like, well, what have you done? And they're like, oh, it doesn't work. I don't know. So, the way I do it is I always find people I know, and then if I can't find people I know, like, for example, we were looking for a designer. We just tried a few guys. So we said, look, we don't want to be rude, but how about coming in for a few days? Like, we'll see if you kind of fit in with our team. If you don't like it, then there's kind of no pressure on you. It's kind of like a two-way thing. So we ended up trying one guy. He stayed for a little while. We didn't really gel. He was an all right designer. Like, he did some good stuff, but he didn't really work with us. So we said, look, that's it. Like, no problems. We'll find someone else. And we ended up finding someone really good. You just got to keep kind of having people on. And this guy was the same. We said, look, do you mind coming in for a few days and just working with us and see if you like it? And he came in and he was excellent, and we kind of hired him after that. So that's how we did it.
So the theme here is keep iterating.
Keep what?
Keep iterating.
Sorry, Mark, did you...
Nip in real quick. So we do everything through referrals. I was saying before about, and all these guys were saying about how close the community is. There are bad people out there, there are good people out there. So we don't ever chuck stuff out. We go to the main source, which could be Alan, for instance, and then the people around him that he refers, we know are the best of the best, and if they're not available or they don't suit the job, then it feeds down and feeds down. So Stricken, we actually outsourced the code for that. We couldn't afford to do it in-house, and we went to Rising Sun Pictures, which is one of the visual effects companies we work with, and said, that's where Alan came from. Do you know any other people? And people won't refer bad people because it comes back on them. So if you can find someone good and they're not available, ask them to refer people. And somewhere down the line, even if it's like 6-7 steps down the line, you're going to find someone that is at least capable.
Referrals are definitely good for those exact reasons. People will not, if someone's good, they will not recommend someone who's poor because they know that's not good for them. The other thing is, the most common question I think I get asked by developers is, I need to find a great designer, where do I look? And the most common question I get asked by designers is, I need to find a great developer, where do I look? So it's like, you guys just need to all hang out together. I think networking is a big part of it. If you're looking for a developer, what you should actually do is go to Cocoa Heads or go somewhere where there's lots of developers. If you're looking for designers, I don't know, hang out in cafes or whatever. But But there's definitely a lot of people out there, a lot of talented people out there, and you also need to get really good. Again, this goes back to what I was talking about with making decisions. You need to get good at filtering people really quickly. There's lots of people, again, as Russell said, that people talk big. Really, the only thing that counts is the actual results. So if they don't actually have anything to show you, any kind of folio, whether it's just whatever, then you probably you shouldn't be talking to them on a professional level. For Sideways, that was really interesting for us because that was the first thing we've done that wasn't in-house, and we used a Coco developer who, again, was via referral, really, really good, worked out well, great guy, and a friend of mine. I was just asking around. I was like, it's really, really hard to find OpenGL programmers. They're an enigma to me. And he said, yeah, I do that. And I said, oh, really? And then he sent me a link to his uni project that was a ray tracer. And I was like, I think you might be okay for a crappy little 2D game.
And we've got a question over on this side.
Yeah, Peter Podorowski developed educational design and developed educational software, looking to port it across into an app or apps. But my question is, the strategy, in some cases there are apps there which are freebies, they're a cut-down version of a full-blown commercial version. So one is my comment about that strategy, putting a free cut-down version, and the idea then of either putting it simultaneously the full-blown version, or putting it on at some later stage after you've developed what the actual interest in the freebie is.
Might hand to someone else who's actually done that, because all we've done is cut the price of our good app to free.
Well, I have done that, and I have no idea what the answer is, because it's very hard to correlate whether you're making sales from having a light version or whether you're... I mean, at the end of the day, people say people have a lot of a sense of entitlement from a $1 or $2 app, right? And so they get it and they're disappointed and they leave a 1-star review. And you would think that maybe those same people would get the light version and find that they don't like it and leave a bad review for that instead, or maybe not be inclined to because they didn't feel like they deserved anything from a free app. But at the end of the day, it's just 99 cents or $2. And in the case of the incident, we did try a light version. I think it was a few months after we released it, and it's really hard to say what effect it had. And I've just gone off the idea generally. I've removed all my light apps from the store just because I think, come on, it's $2, just buy it. And if you don't like it, well, maybe give it another try. So yeah, that's my attitude at the moment. And if anybody else has a better idea, I'd love to know what they found.
So we actually did kind of the opposite of what you're saying. We had a paid version, and then when sales kind of started to dip off at one point, we thought, well, let's try making a free version. So the big decision that we made, though, is that we didn't want to constrain people in any way. We didn't want to nag them in any way. We didn't want to make it feel like they were using an app that we kept begging them for money, give us money, give us money, give us money. So all we did is we made a light version of Pocket Weather. We just used the original sort of theme that came with it. We turned off some of the animations and things like that. We didn't give them access to all the advanced stuff like the radar, and all there is just down the bottom. There's a little button, and I think it says something like Feed Us with a smiley face on it. And all that does is link off to the paid app. And that saw actually a massive spike in paid sales, so it's kind of the opposite, I don't know, of what you're saying. It probably depends, whether it's a game or whether it's an application, might be two different things. But yeah, in our case, it made a huge difference, and it still does to this day. For a while there, we were getting, 5,000 downloads a day or something of the free version. So, and it definitely, you could see, when it came out, they kind of both went up together afterwards. So, I don't know.
With Shop Ethical, when we released the new version this year, we added a message. We made the old version much like 99 cents. I think it was like $3 or $3.50. And we put a message on the old version to buy the new version, and we went sort of straight to #1 in reference the same day that we released that update. So I don't know, I can't talk to free, but people do see messages and upgrade through the app.
And how do you actually choose a price point?
It's a good question.
Yeah,
given last couple of weeks, they've rebalanced the pricing on the App Store. So we had a $3.99 app that went down to $2.99, and we thought that was too cheap. So it's now $4.49. And we're sort of debating at the moment whether or not that's too expensive, because I think, $3.99 was the right price point, but you just got to experiment with it. I think we're going to put it on sale for a couple of weeks, see how it goes. But it's very hard because there are lots of things that move the rank of an app. You get a bit of press, or you get a thing on Twitter and it spikes, and is it because of the price? Is it because of the feedback?
But when you guys are looking at the App Store, I mean, it must be so hard to weigh up, say, the months of development that you've put into an app versus the market out there, and the fact that everything hovers around 0 to 99 cents. I mean, does that take into it? Would you actually say look at a bunch of apps that are similar to yours before you decide what your price point might be, or do you start at the very start of the process saying, no, this is going to be a $2.99 app, and that's as low as we'll go?
Well, I think first of all, the only time where you have to make a hard decision is on release, because after that you can experiment. But on release, you want to. That is as well as you will ever do. In my case, that's been true anyway. So it's important to get it right then, and you don't necessarily have, depending on what you've built, similar apps in the store. Like hopefully you've done something innovative or unique in some way. So I think a bit of a general rule is you price it disproportionately to the appeal. So if the higher the appeal, the more you can afford to go lower. So
I think all of it should also depend on the kind of app that you create. We've obviously got commercial agreements in place to get our data, and so going back to the free question, for example, it's out of the question for us because that data costs, and releasing a free version, we'd still have to continue paying for that data for the free users and paying for all of our business costs. When it comes to pricing, the recent price drops were kind of affected us as well because we have contracts in place that actually had a $2.49 price point on them, and then Apple removed that price point. So that was an interesting day when we woke up and discovered. And so our app went down to $1.99, and we've recently raised it up to $2.99. And really, where we're at the moment, that seems to be the best kind of price point. And looking at the competition, we're actually slightly more expensive. So there is something as well about trying to be a premium app if everyone else is trying to undercut you.
Okay. And a question over here?
My question is about the legal mumbo-jumbo involved in making an app. Like, I'm currently working on a tool that could potentially be used by, like, an Olympiad, possibly. But I'm interested, did you guys, hire lawyers to write out your terms and conditions, or did you just write a very simple one, or what in this world, it's the age of liability, just like to know?
With us, it was more not the relationship to us and the user, it was between the content provider and the user. And as I was saying in my presentation, we're very conscious of connecting to that content and understanding what that meant and how we could use it. In your case, I'm not sure of all the nuances of what you're relating to, but all I would recommend is just understanding exactly the ramifications of whatever you do. Unfortunately, lawyers are needed. We do engage with lawyers now because the environment that we're in is a lot more serious, and we deal with a lot more serious players, so we have to. But it doesn't hurt to get advice from a lawyer, and a lot of the time you might even have a lawyer friend who you can buy a coffee and just get his or her opinion on your app and your concept.
I guess the other thing to say about lawyers is generally they don't bite. Try and find one that doesn't charge you every single time you call them or email them, and is a bit friendly and whatever else. And it doesn't hurt to get legal advice, especially if you foresee there being problems. It could save you a lot of money down the track.
And as a show of hands, who is actually also developing for other platforms outside of iOS? Okay. And are you seeing, I don't know, what are some of the differences in the marketplaces between the two? Russell, we won't start with you, just because I know you've been a bit vocal recently about it, but...
I don't know, I think the other week Pat released an app and a second later says it's in the store. So that's a big difference. Other than that, I think we've got some issues now. I'm not sure exactly what's going on, but we're being banned from some of the stores. If you're a Telstra subscriber, you can't download our football app. So I don't know if anyone can shed some light or is any experiencing that, would like to know more about that. But that's my initial reaction to the Android store.
And how hard is it to cross code?
I'm not the right person there.
Okay.
We're just experimenting with Corona SDK at the moment, and but it's you know, it's got limitations. So what we're actually doing is making sure that the apps that we're designing or innovating suit that platform before we do it. And also it depends on the nature of the app. Like we're doing it for our kids' book purely because I found with Stricken that you want people to read your work that you're doing, and there's no reason why you should restrict the audience. But there's no doubt about it. Android's crap.
Yeah, we've got a sort of dedicated team of Android developers now. We've got we released a version of Snaps and Solve. We'll do a version of Shop Ethical, and then we're doing a number of client apps for Android. And it's just a sort of a different skill set. I think one of the things that we try to do in common is kind of share the design, because I don't get a sense that any Android apps have a strong design sensibility about them. So we think if we just bring in what we've done for the iPhone, that's better than most of the apps in the Android store. We're also doing something for Windows Mobile, and we're doing a web app as well. But you know, the Android marketplace is just a mess, to be honest. But it's amazing. You press publish and it's live, and you don't have to fight the Apple bureaucracy, and you got to go where the users go.
Yeah. So Windows Phone 7, obviously.
Yeah, don't start me on Windows Phone.
Sorry about that. Another question from the audience?
Yeah, hi guys. Really loving all the information today. It's been really great. Just kind of probably a little bit segregated from everyone, but representing a large global company, how do we? What's the best way for us to go about engaging with your types of services? I mean, there's sort of varying talks around, you know, wanting to code for pleasure, not profit, and that kind of stuff, and varying other, you know, NDAs and things like that, which we get. But what's a really good way for us to engage with you so that we do get a positive relationship?
Give us a call. Let's have a meeting. Let's have a coffee. That's what we do. So,
there's I used to do contract work, and the sort of when you're working for a single an ideas person, like basically when you this question came up before, the idea of how do you approach somebody about actually doing work for you, and it's the thing of you make them sign an NDA, right? So the biggest thing I wanted to add there was you have to understand that in that relationship you're more than just the idea person. You're gonna, unless you're gonna do some work yourself, you're gonna pay the bill, right? You're gonna pay a rate. So in the jobs I've done in that relationship, I've had I haven't entered into it without knowing that I have some degree of sort of there's respect and there's sort of a little bit of autonomy as well. So I don't have to report too frequently. I may not have the final say, but I sort of feel like I do, you know. So it's kind of the illusion of control. Like, I think the problem that me as myself as a developer would have working for a large company would be that I would just be churning out code for them. So I guess I'd have to feel as though my abilities were respected and my my stance on things would be respected as well. So yeah, that's pretty much all I can add to that, I think. So there's one more thing. There was actually a app I was looking to build myself that I was going to charge for, that I was approached to instead do it with an hourly rate. So you can't get much better than that. So it was pretty much respected that you want to write that up, I'll pay you to do it, and then we'll own it. So that's pretty awesome. But yeah.
We do a lot of work with brands and etc. I just say the main things we always look out for is a really good brief. You know, if it comes in and it's, you know, somebody said, I think, you know, how much is the website? You know, you have a really good brief. Be really transparent if you're getting other people to scope the job as well. There's nothing more annoying than thinking you're the only runner for a job from a brand, and then afterwards they go, oh, we want someone cheaper, and you don't know that you're doing that. And the other thing is, I don't know if you guys do discovery phases, but we actually don't necessarily quote anymore. What we actually do is say we want to do a discovery phase, it's consultation, and if you're willing to spend a little bit of money with us to work out wireframes and all kinds of things, and we can figure out if we can work together.
Yeah, I really reiterate on that discovery phase. I think it's like great to have the brief, but really, who knows exactly what it is you want to kind of create until you've actually started investigating it and working together as a team. And I think extending a level of trust to the people that you kind of bring in terms of if you really want to bring something new to the table is really important. And the frustrating thing is, from my point of view, a lot of the big companies have some of the resources and some of the most interesting problems that you'd want to solve as a designer. And I don't know how the other guys feel about this, but it's just really kind of frustrating when you are in a position with such an interesting kind of brief, but you're not given the tools that you need to deliver the best that you can.
I agree with everything that you guys said, but I think it's that sense of that trust, but also I guess community within a business relationship. So if you're engaging with the development house, trust and be conscious of their opinion, and also bounce that off, and just be open, because a lot of the time a client would come to us with an idea, but when you really sit down and use that discovery idea, which is a great idea, especially if you can charge for it, you just don't know where you're going to end up, and you just got to be open and sort of lose that ego. And I think also, I understand what your developers are talking about, but there needs to be an element of ego that needs to be released from our perspective as well, because you guys are coming to us if you're in the commercial game and opening yourselves up. So people think that they know something, but it needs to be, as I said, needs to be communicated. And if that's allowed for both parties, you'll end up with a pretty cool result. Yeah.
That's exactly what I was just about to say. That it needs to go both ways. Like, I guess all you've heard today is kind of the developer perspective, but there is the other side of it. Like when a business comes to us and says we want this app, we don't go, hey, you know what, we're rock stars, and you know what, I'd like a couch, and I need a caravan, and we don't operate like that. You come to us, you send us an email, you give us a phone call, we discuss it, we see if it's something we'd be interested in doing, we've got the time to do. But I guess the biggest thing that we always ask clients is what's the time frames? Because sometimes businesses can have really unrealistic expectations. They say, I want this by the end of the month, and it's a 6-month project. Or they say, yeah, I've got the budget, it's $5,000, and I want you guys to do it, tomorrow, sort of thing. It's just more like, budget, time, and just kind of like a two-way respect. Like, we don't act like rock stars, and we don't expect you guys to bully us either. It's just like a mutual kind of relationship that develops, really.
On that timeline, I couldn't agree more. We get a lot of people who come to us and just say, we want something done yesterday, and I think that's just that's a slap in your face. That's when it gets quite frustrating. But if the timeline's there and that communication's there, it's a good result usually.
Thank you.
Alrighty, guys. Well, I think we will leave it there. It's just been a fantastic day. Like, I really am impressed with everyone that's been on stage today. Can I get a big round of applause for all of these guys? Honestly, when the One More Thing page went live, and Anthony, we were chatting on IM, and he was like, okay, it's live, go check it out. I went through and I was like, oh my God, I've bought every single one of these guys' apps, like every single one of you. So I don't know whether that says more about me or you guys, but whatever. I also wanted to thank a really big thank you to both Anthony Aegis and Lauren Watson for making this event actually happen. And finally, the guys at Revolt, who helped us many times today when some of the technical things didn't go just as smoothly as we'd liked. So thank you once again to the guys at Revolt. All right, well, I do believe the lovely Anthony just stuck his head out behind that curtain. I might see whether he wants to say one final word to you guys. I'm sure he does. But Yeah, there he is. Oh my God, he's scary. Behind me. Okay, but I just want to say, just personally as well, thank you so much. It's been a great day. Thank you, guys.
Before we go, I don't want to spend too long because I'm really tired and really hungry. But I have to thank a lot of people because even though this came out of my head, I didn't do everything. So I got a list so no one is left out. First of all the speakers, half of you didn't know me before I asked you, yet you all said, yes, I'll spend hours when I'm a really busy guy making apps like that. With James, I bugged him while he was releasing the new version of his app, and that's a really tough thing to do. Like, I felt bad because that's his livelihood and his baby, like he said today. But they don't hate me, so that's good. And all the speakers have been great. The stories have been much better than I expected, actually. So it's been awesome. Half of the show is you. The other half is getting things done, and the volunteers who helped out, James, Daniel, Charlie, Chris and Mark, operating the cameras, manning the registration desk. Without them, there'd be mayhem. So very happy to have those guys helping out. And Pete, I asked him, like, I kind of launched a page, then told him, hey, do you want to do this MC thing? And he said yes, and he did a really good job. I'm impressed. I've watched Pete, back when he came up with the idea for the Mac Talk podcast. He may not have been as comfortable with speaking and being on shows and stuff, but now I think he's very competent, very good at it, and I'm glad to have him as a friend and someone to help me out with doing this. And the people from Revolt, again, they never laughed at me when I had stupid questions, because I'd never done this before, so I had no idea what to do and where things are supposed to go, and they never complained. And the audience, because you guys pay cash, like, I keep forgetting, like, you guys paid money to come to this, and for me, it's like, that's really support. Like, you put your money where your mouth is. Like, I want to come here and do this, and I support that idea with $249. That's awesome. But the person I want to thank the most is Lauren Watson. I was the first person that found out about it, because I had to ask. Without her doing it, I wouldn't have done this at all. No one else would have been able to do it as well as she has. No one I get along with well enough. Nobody I trust enough with this idea. And again, she didn't laugh at me either. She said, yes, we can do this. And we did it. And she kept me sane. She kept me doing things. And without her and her awesome work, which you've seen all the signs and stuff, it wouldn't have been done. So I want to thank Lauren the most. So thank you, Lauren. And that's it. Should be food and drink out there soon. And yeah, thank you very much. And thank you, speakers.